Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson of Japanese. Today we are going to be covering a broad topic, no pun intended here. We're going to be covering the differences between female and male speech in Japanese. Okay, so now we are going to split our explanation into basically kind of three categories. The three most prominent things that will differ between female and male speech. And the third and last category will basically be select phrases or words, because if you're a female, you're kind of more likely to use certain words or certain versions of the same word, and if you're male, you're kind of more likely to use some other version of that word or phrase. Okay, that's going to cover it for the second category, the sentence enders. We're going to move on to our last category, which is kind of select phrases and words, which is probably the most subtle category. This one is like the least reliable to depend on when you're trying to figure out if the person talking is a male or speech, but it is kind of still a thing, so we'll cover it. And yeah. So in the past, we've covered what we call word beautifiers before. This is either going to be the character O or the character go, put right before certain words to make it kind of more polite, or acknowledging that the word kind of has a history to it and you're being respectful to that. And just from me saying that, you should kind of already have a good guess about which gender is going to be using these more so. It is going to be the female speakers, because like I said at the beginning of this video, female speech is kind of synonymous with being just more polite. And so yeah, saying something like okaimono or otomodachi is gonna slightly be more feminine. Male speakers are gonna be less inclined to do this. And we've actually done a video lesson on word beautifiers before, so if you need a kind of full lesson to that, go check out that video. You'll find more of the words that are used with these word beautifiers, because you can't just tag on word beautifiers to any given Japanese word. There are select words that are allowed to be used with them, so if you need to familiarize yourself with some more words like that, check out that video. Alongside this concept of word beautifiers, we also have this kind of separate subcategory of select words and phrases. Certain phrases like ara, which translates to basically something like oh my, or oh my goodness, or my oh my, something like that, you're more likely to hear female speakers use them. On the topic of words here, we have certain words where basically male speakers will use the rougher version of the word or synonym of the word, and female speakers will use the kind of more polite, less rude synonym for that word. So an example of that would be something like taberu, which is of course the most common word to say to eat. This is the word that we've used a lot in our example sentences. This is going to be kind of the more polite version of saying to eat, so female speakers will tend to use this one more than male speakers, who will use the kind of more rough sounding version, which is ku, which is going to mean the same thing, to eat. Another example of this would be the two words basically ketsu and oshiri, which is going to, both of them are going to mean basically butt or ass, but ketsu is kind of the more rougher one that would maybe probably translate to ass, while the other one translates to butt. And male speakers will use this one probably more than female speakers will, and female speakers will use oshiri, which is kind of more polite. Okay, so to top off this whole lesson here, we're just going to do a really simple comparison now using an actual example sentence. So we'll try to include some, if not most, of the things that we've covered already into this example sentence. It'd be hard to include all the concepts that we've discussed so far into one example sentence, so bear with me here. Let's just say our sentence in English will be, I don't want to eat sushi. So let's turn this into Japanese two different ways. One will be the kind of more feminine way to say that, and one will be kind of the more masculine way to say that. And there'll be two sentences, but they'll mean the exact same thing, just kind of different gender association to them. So let's do the male version first. Our Japanese translation of I don't want to eat sushi, spoken by a male speaker, would be something like boku sushi kutaku ne yo. And so like I said, this will translate to I don't want to eat sushi, but it'll sound pretty boyish or manly. Now let's do the female version of this. It'll still be translated into Japanese, of course, and it'll mean the exact same thing. We have atashi o sushi tabetaku nai wa, and this will translate to, like I said, the exact same thing. I don't want to eat sushi. They'll both translate to I don't want to eat sushi, but a good percentage of the sentence, if you look at it character for character, will be different. It's like 50% different pretty much. So let's break down both of these versions to get a feel of how they not only how they translate into the English "I don't want to eat sushi," but how they differ from each other, the other Japanese sentence, to be kind of more masculine or more feminine. So the first one we did again was boku sushi kutaku ne yo. So breaking it down, of course, the first word here is boku, which is the pronoun that I said is more likely to be used by male. So just from the onset here, we know that this is a male speaker, or I mean, you can kind of be, it's safe to assume, but of course not 100% guaranteed, but yeah, safe to assume this is a male speaker. We have the word sushi, which is going to be just the word for sushi. You know, we know what sushi is because it's so popular worldwide. This is going to be a word that we can use with word beautifiers, but we aren't doing so here because this is the male version of the sentence, and word beautifiers are more habitually used by female speakers. So that's one thing to note there. Next up, we have the verb ku, which is one of the words that I mentioned that are kind of different when they're used by a male speaker or a female speaker. Male speakers are more likely to use this version of the word to eat. Female speakers are more likely to use the version that is taberu. Ku here is going to be conjugated into the negative form of the desired Thai form, so it turns into kutaku nai. If we were just learning from a textbook, if this was just textbook learning, we would just stop right there. The nai form, that just means the negative form. But here we're in a casual conversation or a casual sentence. We're going to turn this more masculine by turning the nai into ne. Like I said, we can turn the kind of I sound into e if you're a male speaker here. So it turns into just that, kutaku ne instead of kutaku nai. And lastly, we end the sentence with the sentence ending particle yo, which is kind of an emphatic / explanatory particle, pretty in line with the kind of more rough affirmative speech of male speakers. And that's going to be the whole sentence right there. Boku sushi kutaku ne yo. And now let's move on to the female version of the sentence, which is once again atashi o sushi tabetaku nai wa. So here from the onset, once again, we see that the first person pronoun referring to myself is different. It's going to be atashi instead of boku. Atashi is kind of the more cutesy, feminine, deformed version of watashi, which is kind of gender neutral. Instead of sushi here, we have o sushi, like I said, the word beautifier, more commonly used by females. We have the version of to eat that's more polite, taberu instead of ku. It's going to be conjugated into the nai form of the desired Thai form, just like the other one, so it turns into tabetaku nai, and we don't change nai into ne here because that's more habitually done by male speakers. And finally, the sentence ending particle is also different. We use wa instead of yo here because that's more commonly used by female speakers if you're talking about a kind of exaggerated female appearance. Probably if this was a real life sentence in real life, I'm not sure if the wa would be there because that is pretty exaggerated. So then, atashi o sushi tabetaku nai wa is going to be the same thing as boku sushi kutaku ne yo. And what do they both mean? I do not want to eat sushi. So yeah, that's going to be the example sentence to wrap up our lesson here. Hopefully it wasn't too hard to follow. I did try to make them sound manlier or girlier in my voice, so hopefully that helped. And yeah, I just do want to, of course, reiterate the disclaimer that I said at the beginning and repeated a couple of times in the middle of the video, is that none of this is like 100%. The language is constantly developing, and this is one of those subcategories of language that is developing really quickly, you know, because it is a kind of conscious thing. Female speakers don't want to be classified as having to talk more polite or more reserved. So it's probably safe to say that every day there are female speakers in Japan, or Japanese female speakers, who are using the kind of more things that are conventionally considered manly to just kind of blur the line between the gender difference of the Japanese language. So yeah, hopefully this video just serves as a foundation for you to understand the kind of history of it so far, and you can use this to keep experience the Japanese language from now on, and kind of observing how it changes and making note of that yourself as you go on. So if we need to, we'll make a follow-up video to this because there are probably definitely some things that we didn't address. This was kind of just the intro, the kind of most important or the most apparent points of this topic. So yeah. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed your time doing so. If you'd like to express that, you can like the video, leave a comment below, or subscribe if you haven't already. If you'd like to support more of these video lessons, please do consider checking out our Patreon page. Also included on the screen right now are, of course, a bunch of links on where to find and follow us elsewhere online. Lastly, check out our Discord server. We've got a community of hundreds of, so if you're looking for somebody to voice chat with just to practice speaking Japanese, or if you just want to talk about anime or music or manga. And with that, see you next time.